the head desk.
And then she said to me, it takes about a minute to put the streaming thing through. And I said, is that like any other good radio producer? If you say profanities, you can beat them out. She's like, yeah, no. So,
I'll go check.
yeah, thanks, Louise. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Like I say, we really understand there's a lot of confusion around about accessing supports and how carer support works. So, we're good?
It's like during the AFL.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Scott, and I'm one of the team leaders here for the carer support team. So when you ring our 1800 numbers, you get through to our team here. Wonderful bunch of people. I would like to start today by saying that Carers ACT acknowledges that modern day Canberra has been built on the traditional lands of the Ngunnawal people. We offer our respects to their elders, past and present, and celebrate the continuation of the Ngunnawal people's living culture. I love that. It's the oldest living culture in the world, which is very cool. And thank you all, welcome. As I have mentioned to everybody in the room, we are streaming today, which is a little bit exciting for us, so welcome to anybody else who's able to dial in and watching out there. Essentially today, we really just wanted to be able to take some time instead of having to rush and really just go through our own presentation of carer support and how that works and this being Carers ACT and what we do here and how we continue to support carers through these changing times of getting support. Basically we'll just do a little bit of an introduction, which we've started. Just some of this I'm sure you guys will be very aware of. It's just about little bits of background information on, you know, how we identify carers, the support that we can offer, supports and services, in particular respite and how to access that. I'd be really keen to take questions at any time, guys, so please don't be shy, like more than willing to answer questions. And I know we've already had a little bit of a prequel with the aged care discussion, which is on everybody's mind. So I'd love to take questions. We should have plenty of time for that. And yeah, just making sure that we all understand the process of registering and why that's important and how we do that here at Carers ACT. Some of our other complementary services and services that we can offer to carers. And yeah, hopefully at the end, I'm sure our lovely event people, Louise and Sarah, will be interested in some feedback. So firstly, our carer is a carer. Like we get a lot of I'm going to stand in the way, aren't I? I can assure you the camera has lovely wide berth. So carers are, you know, anybody who is in that unpaid caring role for someone who has an ongoing condition. You know, if you break your leg, it's going to get better. So the person looking after you in the short term isn't recognised as a carer by that definition. But if you have any condition that's ongoing, of course, all of us, none of us are getting any younger, so that's not something we can avoid. But also, you know, people who are assisting and looking after someone with a disability, could be mental illness, chronic health issues that are an ongoing concern. We do a lot of work with the palliative care services and just working, you know, complementary with them. People who are diagnosed with dementia and just general ageing and frailty. So for the most part, the guidelines say if the condition of the person is going to be for 6 months or longer, then it would be considered an ongoing condition. Of course, with palliative care, that just doesn't apply. There's no time limits or anything like that. We would just want to support the carer in that role. And we really do pride ourselves on caring for carers. You know, like as an organisation, we do the major carer support contracts not only for the ACT but for the entire southern New South Wales region. So we do pretty much across to the coast and all the way down to the border. We have, you know, south of Canberra right down through the Cooma, Monero, Snowy River region, but we also go north as far as, just past Goulburn, like Tallong and and kind of just there is where our border reaches to. You will hear that being referred to as the Southern Highlands, which is the old hack Southern Highlands, like the actual Southern Highlands that we all know and love, Bowral, that area. It's not actually part of the hack Southern Highlands region. It really is that Southern Tablelands, Southern New South Wales. So we try to be careful with that terminology. And our whole purpose as an organisation is to support, connect and empower carers with practical support when you need it, arranging replacement care, also known previously as respite, and just making sure that carers can have a break and hopefully where possible, you know, plan and understand that that break is required and try and work that into services so that we can avoid crisis and avoid emergencies. It can't always be avoided because we never know. Please come in, have a seat. No, you're right. And basically, but as much as we can, we would try to link people to those ongoing supports, try and support you through the My Aged Care process, and basically, or other options that might be open to linking you to for support. And there's a whole range of those things that can help in the long term, like we do a lot of information sessions on advanced care planning and, you know, things that are very practical for you, how to keep yourself safe, your own well-being, manual handling, helping people in a real practical sense. So, and also we want to listen to carers. So if at any time you guys have a suggestion or you're sitting at home and you think, oh, I just wish I could do this, or I just wish I knew about that, then please contact us. Like if there was a demand for that, it's a foregone conclusion. If yourselves as carers are sitting at home going, oh, I just wish this would come my way, then there's probably a number of other people in the same position, and we would love to try and run that session and source that information. Like we talked about, we actually have the main carer support contracts for us in the surrounding region. Now that's still being referred to as the Commonwealth Respite and Care Link Centre. So you may hear that terminology out there, or, you know, we love our acronyms, so it's called CRCC, but essentially they are the major carer support contracts. Now there is a new carer support model that has been negotiated with the government and is like My Aged Care and like disability has that national uniformity approach to carer support, and will be kicking in late next year. So in the timeframes that the government has set, the way that we operate our carer support or Commonwealth Respite and Care Link Centre contracts will pretty much be largely unchanged until the new model, which will be late next year, September 2019. So watch this space. We'll keep everyone informed about what's going on with that. Obviously, information is a really key thing here. Like, so many people are confused. In the true form of our Aussie spirit, we have to reform everything at once. You know, we've got NDIS, we've got My Aged Care, we've got mental health reforms, we've got carer reforms, and I think that we're all confused together. Like, we pride ourselves here on making sure our information is current and up to date, and when you ring our teams here, if we don't know, we will find out. Like, we will find out what that current change or information is. We're more than happy to help people connect with those ongoing services. It can be a long and confusing process, and at any time you can call us to check information or just make sure that what you've been told is the right thing. Or often I'm speaking to people, guys, who've been told 3 different things. You know, you ring My Aged Care and they give you like completely incorrect information, or you ring, you know, it very much depends on the person you're talking to. So if you're unsure, don't feel like it's you. Like, en masse, you know, so much change at once is confusing, and like, it is really important in today's world when you're trying to access services that you understand the options available. So we would be more than happy to take you through that, and just make sure that you're linking to the right services and aware of any other services that you would be eligible for in your situation, so that you can really make sure you know all the resources available and not be missing out on, you know, a key component of sustainable support. I use the S word, they love to use sustainable. So assisting carers to take a break from their caring role, I think, is one of the primary things, obviously, that we do as carer support, this thing known as respite, or we like to call it replacement care. The word respite has been kind of on and off again. You know, it has some negative connotations for people. So both in the NDIS, kind of the old abandonment days and things like that. So when you see other terms coming up, it's really just so that people can feel like taking a break isn't about having to abandon anyone. It's really so everybody can recharge their batteries and improve that quality of care. So we often use replacement care. So if you see that term, you'll know that that's why we use it. And I think that when you're working with the team, I mean, obviously you've got care in an emergency. None of us know when that is going to occur. Like our 1800 052 222 line goes to a live after hours service when we close. So you get a live person. They have a real life list of service providers who are willing to do emergency support. So you can ring that line 24/7 and talk to a person. 1800 052 222. Which is the number we primarily market and is on our corporate brochures, etc. You can grab on the way out. But also, yeah, so they, you know, an emergency is an emergency. We do have a criteria for that. We will often get calls where people will go, oh, I need emergency respite for Friday week. And you're like, yeah, probably not an emergency. If it's for Friday week, it's probably urgent and we really need it and we will organise that. But that sort of thing, of course, they would put on to us for doing business hours. So, but taking a break from your caring role, you know, we all think about traditional respite, like we think about residential respite. We know there's in-home respite. We know there's, you know, day centres. We try to make sure that people understand we also have like Deakin Cottage and cottage care here, and we can talk a little bit more about those options as we go. But, you know, taking a break as a carer could be a whole lot more flexible than that. Like, you know, we would really want to work with your unique situation. There are, you know, many options for giving you a break. Like if you're going on a holiday, and I mean, everyone has to pay for their own holidays in life, I guess, but not everyone has to account for like replacement care for the person that they're caring for. Sometimes that might be putting care in Sydney while you're there for the weekend because the person that you care for is going with you. You know, it may not be that you're leaving them at home. It may be that you just need assistance somewhere else while you're having that break. Like it may be that, and you could be staying in a hotel, you know, not at a facility. Like that, you could be staying in a hotel and we can actually, you know, put in a short-term couple of days support for you while you're doing that. So it's always worth calling our team. You know, they're so used to just working outside the box and trying to work with you. But like there is so much flexibility in how a break can be given to you as a carer that it's really worth thinking outside the box and leaving those old kind of stricter respite ideas are great and still very useful, and we certainly will help you with residential respite and those types of things as well. But there is so much more that we can do, you know, and sometimes, you know, it may not be about a break. It may be about you need to attend something like you're going to an education wellbeing or a social connection activity, and like you're not comfortable leaving your person and it hasn't been accounted for because it's like come up, you weren't aware of it when you made your kind of plan for the year's care or whatever. If we, you know, if we can support you to get out there and learn more about your caring role or actually get out there and have a social connection and a break, then we will most certainly do it. Like, give us a call. We can also provide specialist support in a number of areas. We're so lucky here at Carers. Like the organisation is amazing to work with and for. Like we do still have an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander carer coordinator, so we can look at that, you know, the individual needs there. We have several mental health carer support type contracts. So we've actually built a carer like capacity building team and put our mental health into a capacity building team where they're working together with mental health carers to get the best outcomes. So we still also have a young carer contract in both here and the New South Wales region. That's primarily about recognising, you know, the difference for young carers. If you're actually, and young carers aren't always only siblings, like, you know, often you think of they have a sibling with a disability, so they're doing extra care there, but they can often be primary carers, like they're caring for their parents who have a mental health issue or disability or what have you. So primary focus of the Young Carer program is to support education and getting through education and not letting that slip through the cracks for these young people who are doing, you know, a whole lot of additional stuff on top of their normal sibling rivalry. But they are, as primary carers, they would be entitled to carer support with everybody else, but as like just specifically young carers, we can help out in the whole region, and also we do a hell of a lot of like gap filling, emergency, and some relief and support while you're waiting for packages and things like that for aged care and dementia. Our counselling and support groups are just, you know, they're finding more and more, the research is showing that, you know, the more that carers can connect with a more multidiscipline, you know, actually being able to talk to peers and have that peer support and understanding of what other people have gone through and the knowledge of what has worked and what doesn't work and what might work once might not work again, or how, and just having that connection in the support group type focus. You know, the research is very clear that this has a profoundly good effect on carers and the people that they care for, like keeping that quality of life. It can, it could also be the one-on-one carer counselling. We're fortunate enough that we have 2 amazing counsellors on staff at the moment. We can also, you know, look at that and connect to other services if it's necessary. But, you know, I think often people balk at carer counselling because you kind of feel if you're going to counselling, you know, you've got to be broken or something. But like when you're talking about, you know, being a carer and those added pressures, like these guys understand carers, like, and the caring role, and focusing that counselling support on the caring role and how to, you know, manage the ups and downs of that can just be invaluable. Like really, they're amazing, and it's a wonderful service. The mode, of course, can also be variable. Like we have face-to-face, and you can book them in here at Holt or what have you. But in this day and age, you know, we've got streaming, we've got Skype, we've got telephone, we've got, you know, if you need support, like please do call. We could certainly book that in and suit your calendar. That can also be not just about managing the stress, but like we talked about the social isolation, like if you can't leave the person you're caring for, that can be terribly isolating, which also grief and loss, like grief and loss of, you know, if you've got a diagnosis of dementia, that's a whole different level of grief and loss. It can be trying to contemplate permanent care in a residential facility. It can just, this stuff is so daunting. And they can really help just guide through that process. Finding the balance between life and your caring role, you know, particularly for working carers, you know, if you're employed and you're getting grief from your employer, and like if you've got to take extra time off, and just assisting with those types of things. Day-to-day coping, and just also, like I say, planning and understanding that the caring relationship will change depending on the situation, and trying to be as prepared as possible, just avoid that crisis situation for carers. And never taking away from the importance of carers' well-being. I think, you know, for the most part, carers will give and give and give and give to their loved ones and not think about their own health. And really taking the time to participate in improving your own well-being or whatever works for you. That just means you need 2 hours off to sit in the sun and have a cup of coffee. Then, you know, that 2 hours is crucial to your well-being. So those types of things are really important. And remember that you're entitled to whatever it is that suits you, so that you can maintain the caring role and you can continue to assist the people that you're caring for. other ways we can help, as we've touched on already, like accessing and navigating my aged care. Like, I'm sure that affects most of the people in this room. And I know some of you would have seen me speak before, and as much as possible on my aged care, look, trying to really avoid the stress is about taking the time to go through the process. It is going to be time consuming. We hear about the wait lists. We hear about the problems ringing on the phone. We hear about this, we hear about that. So, you know, expecting it to be any different while we're in this change, I think just adds stress in itself. And I often say to people, so if you're going to call my aged care, go to the loo, get a cup of coffee, like, grab a magazine, put your feet up, right? Like, and then dial, like, so that, you know, you're already in the zone for the phone call before you even call them. And like I said, you do have the right to understand what's going on. And it is very confusing, and I know I speak to people daily who have been given conflicting information from either service providers in my aged care, or often different people in my aged care, or what have you. So look, please do call. And like I say, we can help with that inbound referral process in the first place. We can actually, they have an inbound form and we can put that in there, and then they call you to finish the assessment. The initial over the phone assessment. And then essentially just ensuring that your information is good. If you're really confused or it's being conflicted, please call us, because we will definitely find out for you. Short-term and emergency respite, we're going to see a lot through the next few slides, because obviously that is a really big part of what we do as carers support, and it can just be so flexible. But at this point, I just want to say, when we say short-term, people ask me all the time, what does that mean? What is short-term? And look, again, it is so flexible what we can do here. Like, short-term might be 2 hours to have that cup of coffee, that you just need to sit and finish the last chapter of your book because you've been trying to finish that one chapter for 6 months now. Like, it may be that you haven't seen a movie in 15 years, you know, like, and something comes out that you just really would love to see. Like, that break that makes your, like, you know, life easier and improving your well-being does improve the quality of care to your people. So don't think that you can't do that. You also, you may have to have surgery yourselves as carers. Like, if you've got to have surgery and you're out of action for 6 weeks, then short-term becomes 6 weeks. If you've got to have surgery and you're out of action for 6 months, then short-term becomes 6 months. Like, it's really only relative to the situation. If it hasn't been accounted for and it is a out-of-the-blue thing that you need short-term or acute assistance for, please give us a call, because if nobody else is funded to give you that support, then we most likely will be. And if there is somebody funded to give you that support, then we will find out and link and connect you to that person. Like, we don't duplicate support that you already have access or entitlement to, but we certainly are the gap filler where there's no support and you need that additional extra help. We can most certainly do that. Now, as we've just talked about, it can be a few hours, days or weeks. It can be months if necessary, just depending on the situation. Like, it's really important that respite also suits your situation. Like, you know, we get a lot of people who are like, but, you know, my person won't go to a nursing home for residential care. And I think, you know, who does? Like, nobody starts out in life going, oh, I can't wait till I get to residential respite. That's going to be great. Like, it is really tough. And as much as possible, we try to match that to the person. We're really fortunate enough, and like I say, I'll speak about it a bit more detail in a minute, to still have our Deakin Cottage up and running. And where traditionally that has been dementia specific in the past, we have found that there's a genuine need for older people who are becoming more frail, but still not really high care needs, but in that, you know, low to mid. If we can meet the care needs at Deakin Cottage, then we will most certainly consider booking there. We really have opened up the boundaries there. It's no longer just dementia specific, but we can also take, you know, all sorts of clients, and we have different ways of accessing funding for that. When you're going into a residential facility, they have their own requirements, they have their own criteria, which is often very strict. Like you have to have 1 week or 2 weeks. You can only have 2 weeks in your first stay there until they get to know you and make sure they like you enough. You can only book in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or, you know, you can't have this and you've got to have that. You can't come from hospital, or you can. And many are booked out 3 to 6 months in advance, so it's very much a planned respite option. There are circumstances where we work with social workers and nursing homes to put more emergency care in when people need it, but it's incredibly difficult to do, and it really just depends on what beds are available. The facility has the last say, so they will most definitely be the ones to say yes or no. They have pre-admission interviews. It's quite a process. Now, while we obviously do assessment and we do encourage people to come wherever possible to look at Deakin Cottage and have a look around and get a care plan set up, updated as necessary, the cottage respite model is so much more flexible. You can just go for the day, you can go for one night, you person can go for the weekend, you can go for a week, 2 weeks, or like I say, 6 weeks if it's a surgery thing, or sometimes people are going overseas or things like that that you can't avoid. So like that cottage model, the flexibility is so much greater. In the nursing homes, through our carer support services, we still run a residential booking service. So for people who have got an ACAT in place, you would know, you get on there that you're entitled to 63 days, which is equivalent to 9 weeks respite per year. That's pretty much just about equity, so that you don't have a few people taking up respite beds for very, very long periods of time. Like they've time limited it to 9 weeks a year so that more carers can access respite and more people can access respite when they need it. Now, we book for about 14 facilities in town. I believe I just heard today actually that there's 27 nursing homes in Canberra now. Who knew? And of those 27, we book for 12 to 14 of them. So we have about 26 to 30 beds. They do go on and offline. So I say 26 to 30 beds that we book here ourselves. So we know if they're available, we know how long they're available for, and we know what their criteria is. So you can make one phone call to us and we can, help sort out some of that. So you're not ringing around 27 facilities trying to find respite. And they're like, oh, no, we don't do this care. Oh, yeah, we do, we will just save as much time as we can for that. We have a dedicated residential respite coordinator, and she's amazing. So if you've got any questions about that, or you're thinking about it in the future, please do call. We also have a list of all the phone numbers and contact names for the facilities that we don't book for. We work very closely with them, and we also have an understanding of what sort of criteria they will take. Like in a genuine emergency, there are only a couple who will take someone as a kind of crisis-driven place, so it's always worth calling us first just to save you 27 phone calls of ringing around. Now, the wonderful Deakin Cottage, for a bit of the housekeeping, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it is just a lovely, 4-bedroom house, home-from-home environment. So apart from the flexibility, we just get so much amazing feedback about just how lovely that can be, that home-from-home, very much wanting to maintain people's abilities to be able to participate while they're there. People can make their own cup of coffee when they want it, or they can get assistance to do that, and are really encouraged to maintain as much skill as possible while they're staying in the cottage. And also there's the day activities program, so you can just go for the day, which can be really good respite for carers. Tracy Goulo, who's our aged care manager and is running the cottage, is just amazing at, she's so client focused and would be very interested in any feedback on activities or things that people would really enjoy doing, very much catered to people's needs and wants who are staying there. So we continue to develop that day program as well, just to try to work with carer needs, and we are trialling a Saturday thing as well, because we get a lot of feedback about, needing to have that over the weekend. So keeping an eye on our information. We'll always keep you updated on where those things are at. And yeah, so really retaining living skills and memory, and that is commonly known as the Montessori approach in any type of care. But yeah, just recently there was on the Win News, I don't know if anybody saw it, we were very excited. We had a couple in there together who were having their, I think it was 66th wedding anniversary. Wow. Like, I saw something on the TV just briefly last night where a couple were reading out a card they got from the Queen on their 60th wedding anniversary. I don't know if anyone saw that. And I thought, wow, I knew you got the card from the Queen when you turned 100, although I think you have to apply for it. But I did not know that the Queen was right in there with the diamond wedding anniversary. There's like, there's one in the room. I thought, how wonderful would that be? Like 60 years.
And the Prime Minister and the local member and who else? The Governor General.
And the Governor General.
Wow, that is, congratulations, that's amazing. Like, so yeah, 66 years I think it was, and there's a couple of other things going on that week and it was on the news. It was really quite, I'm sure for all of those who are IT streaming savvy, you can click somewhere and re-watch it on Win News, but I'll leave that up to you guys. So how do we get this wonderful support? Like my standard response, and this is what we say all the time, is ring 1800 052 222. Now we do also answer the care advisory line. Like, so if you see Carers ACT advertised and it's a different 1800 number to that, like if you call us, we will most definitely get you through to the right person. So don't worry, you know, like we take up to 600 calls a month on this line. It's an amazing team. Like when you call, we do obviously prioritise you if you're having an emergency. Like if you know, there's a whole big difference between, oh, I just want to register with you and see what you're doing and connect with your social activities. There's a whole different thing to the wheels are falling off right now and we need someone 5 minutes ago. So the team will prioritise to some degree, but just so you know, like when you do have an urgent request, we obviously would be attending to those things first and really get back to you as quick as possible. Just recently, within the last 12 months, we updated our registration form. Previous to that, we only did registrations on the phone, and please understand we would do it on the phone anyway, and on the form it does say, and I tell people often in emails and things that if you're having any difficulty with it, please call us, because we would obviously be able to take you through that process and do it over the phone. But we found that, I know myself, you know, that's not always working either. You just need the form so that you can fill it out when you've got time, and then if you've got questions you can call back. Plus this way we got to send the form, you know, to a number of organisations that we work with, the hospitals and those sorts of things, so that we can just save time. And so using that form can be emailed or posted back to us. As soon as we enter it, we would then contact you and let you know it's entered. And, you know, if it's a really difficult situation, we would definitely call you and just talk through what we can do next. But knowing that that form can be filled out at your leisure, I think has been a real godsend for some people.
Sorry, what's the form for? To access support or to register?
Okay, so good question, because that's what I'm saying next. So the form is to register with us. And when we say register, what that means is that we have the information that we need to help you access services on file. So if you're only attending some social activities and you're not really at a point where you want respite for someone you're caring for or something like that, but you do need that break and you're attending social activities, we do have a shorter kind of form that's easier to fill out. But if we're like, say for example, just the peace of mind of knowing that you can ring this line 24/7 in an emergency, so that the full form, so that if we're going to provide care to someone you're caring for, then we do need to ensure that we know their care needs. So the registration form with us has all the information for you, all the information for your cared for person, including any assessments, or like, we don't need copies of them, but just to know that they're out there if they needed to be accessed. Any services you've got in place, like if you have a package in with a particular provider and we had to do additional short-term services for a acute situation or emergency, then we would most definitely do everything we could to preserve your continuity of care. So we would put, we would put your preferred provider in first, if they could do it. If not, obviously, we would then look at other providers to fill that gap. So it's just those types of information. Once we've got that on file, then that means, when you're in a situation, an emergency, none of us know what's going to happen, then it's registered, it's all done. Now, having said that, we are a community non-profit organisation. We're not public servants, we're not government, and we're not, Centrelink, I say to people. So you do not, we very rarely require other documents to prove what you're saying on the form. You do not have to be in receipt of a carer payment or a carer allowance. You don't even have to be an Australian citizen, to access carer support. So all we really need that information for is to ensure that we can provide the services when we need to. And basically that would also put you on our mailing list, so you get information of any education and training sessions that we've got coming up. And also, we could then let you know how we could help. We would then be able to give you more detailed information for your unique situation, what you might want to access. So of all these programs that we do run and all of the carer support contracts that we have here at Carers ACT, we would then be able to go, okay, well, these are the things that you would be eligible for. And at the same token, just make sure that you are linked with services to keep that ongoing sustainable care in place, or at least get on the waiting list.
Sharon, can I just ask you, are you saying that those of us who registered by phone should now?
No, absolutely not. Either phone or form is fine. And when you're registered with us, you're registered with us. And over the phone, we ask the same questions that are on the form, just so we've got that basic and care information for your cared for person. And it's really about catering to your individual needs and what you need to access. And it is about also linking you to carer planning, not just care support planning for the person that you're caring for, but also a caring role plan. If for those people who have very intense caring roles, where the care needs of the person are quite high, being able to plan 12 months ahead or what have you to account for some of those things and avoid crisis. So definitely care planning as well would be a really big service for some people. Like I say, if you really need it in a hurry, this is when the stress is on. Carers can just be bending under the stress of, oh my God, what am I going to do? Calling that number, we can have an emergency care plan in place, and actually going to, more and more for anyone who hasn't got one of these, this is just that another peace of mind backup, where if something happens to you and someone is dependent on you for care, then knowing that you've got the information emergency people will need. It's a little card you can pop in your wallet, as well as, a medication list and just an emergency care plan of, right, if I'm out of action, please do this to help my person. And like I say, our after-hours service will say for it in the event of, some tragedy, for some reason, you cannot even make it home, and that person needs you, and it's high level stress. They will ring every provider in town to get someone there, if necessary. And we know that in an emergency, a genuine emergency, ring 000. In an emergency of, I need someone to care for my person, please do call us first. Like I say, it's live answering 24/7. If you call our CAS line, which I'll show you at the end, CAS just stands for Carer Advisory Service, it'll go to our voicemail, but any line that isn't the 24-hour line will give you this number. So any Carers ACT number that you call, if you get one of our voicemail messages, it will say, this is an emergency, ring 1800 052 222. So,
I was just going to say, so that's complimentary to say, yeah, medical alert
Correct, absolutely. And the carer emergency care plan will also talk about medical learning and using that if necessary, in conjunction with, you know, your emergency care plan. So just having, you know, as much planning as we can do and having those provisions in place is so much more peace of mind. Than trying to leave everything, and then, you know, I mean, there can be just, you know, very big downturns very fast, and no matter how much planning we do, we can't avoid it. But if we're aware and we've got stuff in place, then it just makes it so much easier at the time to give you the support. There's no way, if you rang us in an emergency, the team would go, oh, I'm going to send you this form to fill out. And, you know, we wouldn't. We would just go, right, okay, let's get this done, get on the phone, get the bare essential information, and then follow up with you later. Like, we would not want to put you through, as carers or any carer, through a whole, you know, jumping through any more hoops than you had to. Like, in the name of quality care and to be safe and everybody, you know, so nobody is put at any more risk than necessary. We just need to know, you know, a few vital pieces of information in an emergency on how to care properly for the people involved. So we would just do that over the phone and get you support as quickly as possible. So
Perhaps the folder registration needs to be more publicised. I'm a registered carer, never heard of that.
the emergency care plan. Yes, we're very onto that too. I've just sent a whole heap of them out. We're just sending them out. So I will definitely feed that back. We also, it's on our website and things like that, but it would be wonderful to do a reminder and send it out here and there, because for new carers coming on, they may not have heard of it. And for a little while, it's always been available through carer support organisations, but for a little while it was discontinued and hard to get. We had an electronic copy we were using and sending out, but just recently they're really understanding the importance of that, and over the last 12 months, you know, really bringing that back. So I'll definitely, even if we just include it more often in the newsletter, that would be fabulous feedback. Yeah, just put it in there. And there's a link to the actual website where we get them from and things like that. So for people who do have computer access, you can just get on and get it anyway. But we're also getting quite a few hard copies on board, because that, obviously, if you're going to have a card in your wallet, you want the hard copy. But yeah, it's been wonderful that we've been able to get hold of, you know, bigger numbers of them again, and we certainly will improve that understanding that they're available. Does Carers ACT assist all carers? We most certainly do. So, like, you know, anything that helps support your caring role is our business. Now, for example, you've got to go to Sydney for a specialist appointment. You know, already, if you've got high medical needs and high care needs, you know, there's high financial, like, costs that go with those things. You know, so some specialist appointments you're waiting for 6 months or what have you, and, you know, you can't, like, cancel them. You've got to get to Sydney. Like, we can support that. Those are things that are a direct cost to your caring role. Now, we don't, like, pay back financial assistance. Like, if you call us up front, though, we can help with those things. We can help with fuel. We might be able to help with accommodation. We could help with those costs that are a direct result of your caring role. Or any time that you're not able to perform your caring role. Like I say, you've got a specialist appointment in town for your partner, and then something happens and, you know, you're trying to choose, do I go to my appointment or do I take my person to theirs? Call us, because we could send a qualified worker to pick up your person, take them to their appointment, stay with them and bring them home. Like, if you're out of action, if your caring role needs support, then we can support it. And I think there's a little bit of a, you know, of course, there's always grey areas, you know, in any sort of funded support. But I think that's a really good way of looking at it, you know, like for example, like, we can't, of course, like, pay assisting and paying and helping you take a break. That's one thing. Like, one of the things that we do draw a line between that and, like, a family holiday. Everyone has to pay for their own family holiday in life, but not everyone has to provide respite care to do it. So that's the component. That is a direct cost relating to your caring role, we can most definitely help. Now, we have all heard, you know, this is a user pay society, and it's something I really want to mention now about carer contributions. I think when we started asking for carer contributions, obviously that was a confusion as well. It's not a carers ACT specific thing, it is nationwide, and all funded contracts from the government, both federal and state, have clauses now that require us to ask for a contribution. Now that contribution falls somewhere between 10 to 15%. Like, to give you some idea, it costs around $55 an hour to provide in-home care. So we would be asking for $5.50 an hour as a contribution. The government, I think, as a community, we just understand that we have this, if you can afford to contribute or if you can afford to pay, then you should pay kind of attitude, which is great. If you can afford to pay, you should pay. But if you can't, please don't think that you can't discuss that. Like, there are also provisions for that, and like carer contributions or client contributions to care should not be a barrier to service. Like, you should not be having to go, no, I won't have that break because I can't afford the $50 contribution. Like, if that is the case, then like what we tend to do is go for whatever service we're assisting to organise. We would say the carer contribution is $50. And if you genuinely, which many of us don't have $50 just to throw around at different times, then we would just say, well, is there a contribution that you would be comfortable making? That might be $20, that might be $5. And a lot of times there really isn't. We can waive that contribution where, you know, there's that financial hardship and you can't genuinely at that time contribute. You know, please talk to us about it, because like there are clauses in all the contracts where we genuinely don't want that to be a barrier to care, and we can always talk about it, and that might change, you know, where at one time we're not able to make that contribution and another time we may be. So please don't feel like we can't have that conversation, and the team will always be open to discussion about that. Like the main message being, you know, don't, you know, drive yourselves to exhaustion worrying about it. Just talk to us, because I'm sure we'd be able to work something out. And it would be way better to have the break and keep our batteries charged as carers as much as possible. Obviously, every situation is unique, and we do take everything on a case-by-case basis. So, you know, I'm sure in the 5 years I've worked here, we've done a number of things that we've probably done once and we never do again. And I'm sure in the next 5 years it will continue to be so. Like, all of our lives are unique, and we will always look at a case-by-case basis and see what the best outcome is for both yourselves and the people that you care for. And like I say, don't assume that you're not eligible for things. And this is stuff that is carer specific and contributes to quality of care. It is not about taking services away from other people. You know, let us worry about that. Like, we prioritise eligibility, and we manage like our funding buckets in a way that, you know, obviously people who really need, or high priority, you know, medium priority, low priority, what have you, like, it's not taking away from anybody else when you have a break. In fact, quite the contrary, it's just adding to your ability to be able to, you know, balance life and have more quality care. So basically that can vary from contract to contract. So if you're eligible for things that are specific to who you're caring for, like our next slide is our mental health carers voice, which is just been an amazing contract. Like, you know, being able to have that voice, mental health, particularly in aged care. You know, you may have heard the statements like there's no such thing as mental health in aged care and things like that. Like these guys are amazing. They have, you know, real life carers representing people on you know, various committees. They put out the Mental Health Carers Voice newsletter. They do so much advocacy work for mental health carers, yeah, representing carers in all sorts of situations and keeping us up to date on where those mental health reforms are at. So another specific service is our carer advocacy service, and this one I think is more important than ever at the moment. Like, we have always wanted to be the voice for carers, and being able to access advocacy services when you need them, you know, communicate effectively with service providers and government agencies. And this is where we're beating our head against a brick wall, like China, you know, the systemic problems of trying to engage care, these waiting lists, like trying to get through the confusion. You know, when you're genuinely beating your head against a brick wall, then we can link you to our advocacy services, and they can give you the guidance and advice you need to be able to get through those difficult situations. They also have a variety of understanding of where to link you into and get supports, but more importantly, having your voice heard and acknowledged. There's nothing more frustrating than being made to feel like an idiot when you've just been told 3 different things. Like, how is anyone supposed to know what really is the correct information when you've just been told, you know, often completely opposite things from different organisations? And we can basically, you know, really sort that sort of stuff out and make sure that your voice is heard. And developing those self-advocacy skills are so important for the ongoing, like, you know, so you know that next time you have to talk to the system, you know, you're much more equipped and well armed to do so. So again, just help with writing correspondence and just having someone there for the phone call, so you don't have to feel like you're going crazy, like, because you're beating your head against a brick wall. And they're amazing. We've actually increased the advocacy team over the last 12 months, and you know, so there's even more support there for people. It's really worth it, and our guys will most definitely put you through there when required. The other thing that they also do is a specific foster and kinship carers advocacy service, which is just yeah, finally taking off and really supporting foster and kinship carers, like grandparents who have their kids with disabilities or what have you in foster care situations. It's not always just parenting, as they say. Sometimes there are genuine care needs, and those people also require support. So this is our 1800 number page from, I'm going to say heaven, not hell, because these are the numbers that we need to call to actually help access services. So like I say, the biggie, our main kind of marketed line is the 1800 052 222. Now, I'm proud to say that our new website is just amazing, and I know that we all couldn't keep up with technology even if we wanted to. But having said that, we are all intelligent, free-thinking humans, and most of us have the ability to read, and we can point and click. So, like, as you are getting more adventurous online, and for those of you that do have that, it is so fantastic, the new website. These guys, the lovely Emma, who is our communications officer, and the work they've done is amazing. It's actually useful. Like, when you go to careract.org.au, there is so much information on how to get services, and specific to, you know, either aged care or dementia or mental health. So you're not wading through a whole heap of stuff that you're not eligible for. You can get straight to the nitty-gritty. There is our what's on calendar, our, you know, the social activities. You can get a link to this emergency plan. There is just everything you could possibly want to know. We will upload to that website. You can register. Our registration form is on there. Like, and it's very easy to navigate now and click through. And we update that as much as we possibly can. The other one that you guys would have seen, and I do say it's my favourite brochure ever, our current corporate brochure, because we used to get asked, because we have so much flexibility and we want to be able to cater to your needs as carers, we get asked all the time, but what do you actually do? And for the first time, we actually thought, you know what, we're going to answer that question this time. And smack bang in the middle of the brochure, we put 14 ways we can help you, like, instead of having to go through, you know. So even just grabbing one of these, having it when you can grab it when you need it. We've tried to keep it as simple as possible without any, you know, legalese or all the rest of it. And it just gives you, and like I say, it's not limited to like where there's a genuine caring role need, then we're highly likely to be able to assist you, even if it's like a one-off, may never happen again type of situation. And like I said, it's a really good reminder of, oh yeah, what do they do? Right in the middle. Like, it's also got all the 1800 line numbers on there, and essentially the last thing I want to say about that, the carer advisory line again comes straight to us. That 1800 242 636 is like the carer network answering number. So you've got Carers ACT, and you've got Carers New South Wales, and Carers Queensland, and Carers Northern Territory, all answer this line. It's not 24/7, so you do get a voicemail after business hours, but if you've run the wrong number, like I say, it will tell you to call the 24-hour line if you need to. Now, the new integrated carer support service model that we talked about when we started today is a work in progress, and like I say, we will continue to update information through our networks as that unfolds. But it will be tied in. I don't know if anyone has gone to the Carer Gateway or called the Carer Gateway number. It's quite a comprehensive website, but when you get there, you can click through the kind of situation that applies to you, and it will give you lists of services that are available, that type of thing. Like there's a service, you know, it's worth a look if you're looking around, and the fact that the future kind of carer support will probably be more linked into that. It's already a national website. We don't know what numbers or how that will look, but essentially definitely worth a look. If you're looking for carer services and you're looking for support, for whatever reason we're not open, then having a look on the Carer Gateway can be really useful, especially for finding services. It links to the Health Direct, kind of the Health Direct organisation who do all those service finder supports for different health agencies and apps, and all the things that they're involved in are the ones who keep that service register up to date. Of course, we've got the My Aged Care number there, and NDIS for anyone who needs it. People who are being diagnosed with younger onset dementia, for example, traditionally always had to go into aged services, but now they're covered by the NDIS, so being able to, you know, access care differently when you really are under 65, I think it's starting to try to fill some of the gaps for that. For people who are diagnosed with younger onset dementia have often been stuck between a rock and a hard place for care. They're too young for aged care, but they're too, you know. So, yeah, just remember that for under 65, the NDIS line is always worth checking first for eligibility and so on and so forth. And essentially that is going to be up for today. So, well, thank you so much, guys. I hope that has made sense. Please do. It's just up the hallway there. Oh, you can open it up. This is right. Yeah. I think there's a sign, so you'll see it. Yep. Toilets, and then turn right. Right. So, guys, I'd really love to answer any questions that we didn't answer yet. Has anybody got any questions? Please do.
You have mentioned about the carrier contribution.
Yes.
Cost ranging of 10 to 15%.
Correct.
What cases is 10%? What are in 15%? How about the cottage, the Deakin cottage respite?
Okay, so the 10 to 15% does tend to be what's nominated in what they call the CHSP. Love our acronyms, as I said. So the Commonwealth Home Support Program is like the new hack. You know, in the old days we had, you know, when you had entry-level age services, you weren't yet ready for a home care package or residential respite, but you just wanted a little bit of support at home, a bit of domestic support, maybe a small amount of nursing or something, then you would get that entry-level services. So CHSP specifically started at a 10% contribution and is asking it to be increasing to a 15% contribution over the next little while. So at the moment we generally sit somewhere around 10% when we're doing CHSP services, and that includes cottage care. So cottage overnight and centre-based daycare is part of the Commonwealth Home Support Program. Now, having said that, what we also do is that there are some services you access that have very specific contribution amounts. So it's not a 10 or 15% thing. Most CHSP services started at 10 and they will be moving to 15% over the next contract period. So 12 to 18 months, next couple of years. What we do for overnight at the cottage is that we have found that instead of doing that, because overnight can be, you know, that's obviously a much greater expense when you're looking at that type of service. So what we have done with our cottage is bring that in line with the basic daily fee for residential care, which is currently $49. It may have just gone to $50. No, it's still $49.97 or something. Goes up, it gets indexed each year, the basic daily fee. So that basic daily fee of $50 that's rounded up to for residential aged care and also our cottage care is what everyone pays. So if you go into a nursing home on respite or if you go into a nursing home permanently, the basic daily care fee that you're charged is roughly $50 a day. So everybody has to pay that. Now, for those of you that have connected with My Aged Care, you would know that everybody who's doing a home care package, like so your care needs are increasing, or the person you care for, their care needs are increasing, and it's starting to exceed that entry-level services. So you've got Commonwealth Home Support Program doing that. They also do other things, we'll talk about that in a sec, but that, you know, you're moving into, we're now getting an ACAT assessment and we're looking at, you're right, and we're looking at home care packages. Then there's a uniform national process now where everybody goes to Centrelink, fills out the income assessment form. It's called income assessment in home care packages and means assessment in permanent care, just to confuse us, but ultimately it's the same thing. So then through that process, Centrelink will then send you a letter and it says your income assessed contribution amount is however much they say. So that will vary for every single person. You know, if you're Mr. Johnny Millionaire and you send that form in, like your income assessed amount may exceed the amount that you would pay, and a lot of people who do have the funds available, then they just pay for their own services privately. But for the majority of people, where, you know, that income assessment may come back with just a small income assessed amount, you need to pay on top of basic daily fees. So the basic daily fee for residential or cottage, about $50 a day. If you've been assessed as having to also pay an income assessed part of it, it'll be on top of the basic fees. And then they have, like, you know, specialist, the third way that they charge you is if it's like some extraordinary service, like, you know, hairdressing or something that's not covered in the basic daily fee. So the Commonwealth Home Support Program also has like a large flexible respite component, like coming back to respite. We have quite a lot of CHSP flexible respite, which can be utilised for a number of things, including that short-term respite or a short, you know, a time-limited kind of extra amount of funding that you need. So there's a lot of different ways CHSP helps people, roughly 10 to 15%. In the cottage care, we've brought it into line with residential care, just so it's a little bit easier to understand. And like I say, when you're doing home care packages and residential, Centrelink informs you of how much you have to pay on top, if any. Like for people who are, like those basic daily fees for home care packages will be somewhere around the $10 mark. Different providers will work with you over those contributions to have different, you know, some say that they only charge $5 a day and, You know, that may reduce how much care you can get, but it also reduces your contribution. For the most part, it's, if you're just only on a pension, for example, an age pension, it's roughly $10 a day. So that certainly is a lot for people, you know, like for that contribution. If you're in a, that equates to 85% of the pension. You know, you may have heard those types of figures being fluffed around. Like $50 a day in a nursing home is 85% of the age pension. So that you get that 15% less, and then every, you know, twice a year, like March and September, it indexes, and that indexes up with the pension. So, and that's why, because it's literally 85%. Like I've spoken to people who they don't have a lot of cash, you know, for whatever reason, it looks good on paper, but they don't have a lot of cash, and their income assessed amount is like $300 a week or something. And then, like I say, it's providers who are worth their salt will sit down with you and work out the best value for you. Like when you just take that time, don't let people rush you. Like sit down with people and really work out what the best option for you is, because sometimes it is cheaper for you to pay privately, and sometimes it's better to incorporate into the package. So depending on where you're at, and like I say, at the moment, there's a lot of difficulty in the interaction between CHSP and home care packages, because what's happening is a bit of a bottleneck where there's a lot of CHSP services available. So you've got people getting, you know, it's intended to be entry level. So say, for example, a level 1 package is about $7,000 or $8,000 worth of care for a year. So you're talking a couple of hours domestic, and like I say, maybe a little bit of other support on top of that would be covered by a level 1 package. So Commonwealth Home Support Program was intended to be entry level, should only be kind of, you know, $3,500 worth of care, which might just be a cleaner once a fortnight or something like that, like the old hack services. But what's happening is there's just so much change at once that there's a whole heap of access to these services, which is a lot higher than just entry level, and it's like forcing a bit of a bottleneck into home care packages. So the government's looking at that at the moment. They're doing consultations over how to interact the CHSP and home care package programs more effectively for people. They're also looking at, you know, at the moment we're all writing a consultation paper on respite and trying to talk about the challenges around respite. But like, so a lot of people at the moment, say for example, will say, okay, we're waiting for a level 4 package. We've been offered a level 2 package, but if I take that level 2 package, I'm going to have to pay more a year than I'm currently paying for my CHSP services. And so people are not taking up the home care packages. And like I say, it's creating a bit of a bottleneck. But there are some really good reasons for taking that package in many situations. And like I say, I just encourage people to talk to their providers. Like one of the standard ways I hear this is, but I'm getting, you know, we're going really well on our CHSP and I only have to contribute $3,000 a year. And if I take the level 2 package, I have to contribute $5,000 a year and I'm only going to get the same level of care. But there are a whole lot of other things going on there, guys. Like CHSP funding is block funding. It's a bucket of funding that can be reduced by the government or cut out. It can reach capacity. You know, for whatever reason, you only get access to that funding while it's available. When that funding runs out, you don't continue to get services, you get cut off. If that funding is reduced for whatever reason, or like I say, there's a really high demand, as we well know, you try and get domestic assistance in town at the moment and you'll be on a waiting list because most of the providers are at capacity. So coming into that, you can't even get it. Whereas a home care package, whole different thing. When they finally allocate you that package, it's your funding. It will be your funding until you no longer need that package or you're moving through to a higher package. You can take that package anywhere in the country. Like I was speaking to a lady who was umming and ahhing and eventually went, oh yeah, if I take the package and next year we're thinking about moving to New South Wales to be closer to family, I'm like, yep, you just take the package with you, you re-engage services, whatever, but you've still got that funding. Whereas if you're on CHSP, you can't do that. Like you go to a new area, you're on new wait lists, you don't get, like, it's a block pool of funding. The other thing to remember, guys, is with those home care packages, I say take the time to look at what services you can charge to the package. Like, that's the other thing. You may only be paying $3,000 for CHSP, but for the $5,000 you're paying for a home care package, you might have a whole range of other services available through that package. There is quite a long list of things that you can access. Everything from transport to allied health, like I was saying, podiatry, physio, you know, there are all these things that they're fees that you're paying anyway, and you could then charge them to the package. So it really isn't certain that if you take the package, you would be more out of pocket. You may not be. Like, when you really have time to sit down and work out, well, what are we paying for? And where's that money going, and can that be charged to the package instead? You may just find out that in the long run, you know, that they do break even. I mean, you may not. It may be better for you to continue accessing CHSP services for now, and every individual circumstance for that reason needs to be examined properly, and you all deserve to have that consumer power where you get to go, no, for us, we want this and this and this. We don't want that, you know, and we would like this, not that. So one of the things we really do have in these aged care reforms is the power to say yes or no to what services we want. And the home care package providers, like I say, it's their job. They will sit down, they will work out those costs with you, they can work out what can and can't be charged to the package, what services they can offer themselves, and if you want other services that they can't offer, they can seek them for you and pay another provider to do it and still charge it to your package. So, you know, one of the few things we have left today in aged care is consumer power. Like, don't let the confusion deter you, you know, like, you're entitled to take as much time as you need to work out exactly how that would best work for you and say yes or no, and not just be told by providers anymore, like, what they're going to give you. You get to go, no, like, this list of services, I want to look at this and I want to look at that, and it includes all sorts of, like it's quite a long list of services that can be charged to your package, so please do consider it if you get the opportunity. But like I say, of the 100,000 people, 101,000 people waiting for home care packages, I think about 40,000 of them have a lower level package in place while they're waiting for hire. Last thing I'll say about that is, if you choose to take a lower level package, you do not lose your place on the waiting list. That's another very common misconception. So if you're on the waiting list for a high package and you're offered a lower package, give it due consideration, because it could in the long run work out a lot better for you. And like I say, you don't get to lose, you don't lose it then. Like, you get to keep it, it's your funding or your person's funding. And we can always provide emergency respite on top of that too. But yeah, so is there any other questions? There's some cool looking Lamingtons over there, so I think we need to get a hold of one of them. Yes.
With carers, if you an okay for a provider, if you've got,
Yeah.
like, we haven't been really pleased with some of the things that have been happening.
Yes. That's the other good thing. Look, we don't really have a list of providers that we endorse per se. We work with, gosh, in our carer support, the whole organisation, like, we've got, gosh, something like 70 plus service providers on service agreements. So we work with them all, and what's good for one won't be good for another. But I would encourage you to follow it up though, like even though it may be time consuming and you've got to do it one step at a time, this is the beauty of having that package attached to you and not attached to the provider. You know, 12 months ago we made the change to go to this national list, and one of the big differences there was that in the past the government allocated packages to providers, and then you went to that provider, and if they had a package you got it, if they didn't you had to wait or you had to go to another provider who had a package. Now you own your package and you can take your package to any provider you want. There is some information on how to guide you through this on My Aged Care, but essentially it's your standard. If you've tried talking to your provider about the level of care and what you're getting and you're not getting anywhere, like you can most definitely talk to other providers and see what they could offer you that would be better suitable for you in your unique situation. And then the providers then work out the process of transferring the package. So the new provider will give you all the information you need to try and work that out. And you can certainly ring people saying, look, I just want to look at other providers. I'm not happy with my provider. Can we make time to talk about this? Like I say, in the world of any complaints, always they encourage you to talk to your current provider. But I know so many people like yourself, it's just like talking to a brick wall. You're just like with some. But having a look, I mean, certainly, yeah, there's a range of providers in town, and just having a look and talking to a couple of different ones, seeing what their approach is, seeing what they would offer you is well within your rights. And like I say, when it comes to actually going, you know what, that's exactly what I want to change providers, they'll help guide you through that too. Like they make the dates match and everything, so they end your package with the old provider on the same day they take it up with the new provider, so you don't lose care, you don't have to wait again. It's a little bit of a process, but it's worth it in the long run, right? Like I know that they make us feel like if we rock the boat or we go, we're not happy with that we're in the wrong and all that sort of thing. But, you know, if it took a week, a month or 3 months to change providers, and that meant for the next 5 years you had care that you were really happy with, it would be worth it. And like I say, I think as much as I can now, I'm saying to people, remember that you have that power. Like you can say yes or no. You can choose what type of care you want, and you can most certainly take your package to a new provider if they won't listen. Like,
I've got a complaint about, say trying to change your timetable all the time and you never knowing when the carer's
going to show up, yes.
If they use the reason that they've taken on so many new clients and you have to fit in with what's available, like what else available on that particular day.
No, and then you get the window, like I like that one where they'll go, oh, well, they'll be there between 9 and 11:30, and you're like, great, well, we'll just waste our lives sitting around waiting. And look, there are some real issues in the industry that make it very hard for aged care workers. Like say, for example, I would like to think that if I was your worker and I came to your house and I found you on the floor and, you know, obviously I would not be leaving you there, which means that I'm probably going to be late for my next client. So having good communication, good understanding, like good, you know, providers who have good systems in place to deal with those industry issues, they will communicate with you. They will go, okay, this person's late, we're sending another person, or, you know, or whatever, like they will let you know. I think that is a real difficulty for a lot of us, and I think most, you know, obviously if you yourself or someone you love genuinely needed that extra half an hour care, like you're waiting for the ambulance officer or something, I think we all understand that. You know, that happens from time to time, but when you're consistently not happy, yeah, I would honestly, if you talk to a couple of different providers, they have different ways of scheduling. So although you're always going to have that, they're going to be late once in a while, sometimes thing happening. Not all scheduling windows and not all, use the same scheduling techniques at all. So it's really important to talk to them about those things, and I think that if that's important to you as their client, then they would give you their best shot at how to get someone there at the same time. Like I say, very tough, but we've got so many more clients that we can't afford to give you the service you deserve. Not saying quality to me, right? And I don't know who the provider is, and like I say, there's probably people who are very happy with that provider also, and it is different in each situation. But no, I would definitely be shopping around, or at least looking at what other people can offer you. Does not hurt anyone, takes up a bit of your time, but at the end of that process, you understand more too. Like when you're really going to hang on, let's take the proper time to look at this. Then at the end of that process, even if you don't end up changing, you understand a whole lot more what you can do with your package.
The only thing I was going to add to that, Sharon, if you don't mind, because we've got
Please do.
is that when you sign the contract, there's also exit fees.
Oh,
that you
yeah.
have to pay. So I know that the exit fees can be quite high at times, but as Sharon was saying, sometimes the peace of mind, actually paying that exit fee to be able to move to a better provider
is worth it.
Worthwhile the next year, that you're not going to have to struggle every day to try to get a work permit. And the contracts are very complicated. Like I have been, as you know, Sharon, a lot with my grandmother, and the contracts are very long and they're quite heavy to read. So you're probably going to need a second pair of eyes to read that contract, because I have read my grandmother's contract I don't know how many times, and my brothers have read the contract, and then we had to do some movement for the well-being of my mom, who takes care of my grandmother and my dad. And the exit fees were heavy, but in the long term, it was worthwhile to pay the heavy exit fee.
And exit fees are a real issue in some circumstances, but they do vary. It varies from provider to provider. Like where some providers, they might have a very small exit fee of like a couple $100 or something. Others, it'll be thousands, like literally thousands. This is really impacting on the retirement living type of situation. That's a whole other story. But yeah, just really taking the time to look at it so that there's a better understanding and knowing what you can get out of it. And no, you don't have to just keep receiving a service that you're absolutely not happy with. You're allowed to look around.
I also put a complaint with the HK quality standards.
And people can help you with that too. And if you're really experiencing barriers with that, please let us know, guys, because it may be something that our advocacy service can help with.
There seems to be a problem with the providers, office workers and their carers. I don't have any issues with the care of people that come themselves.
They're lovely, most of them, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes, especially people I know.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any communication between the workers and the office people as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like it would be worth at least looking at some options. Yes.
Yeah, well, two questions. The first was with respect to that, what's being streamed today. Can we access that in future? It's a recording.
I'll have to talk, because it's Carers ACT, we might be able to put that on our page, because that's the thing that usually with other facilitators, we really need to have their permission. Live streaming is different to recording and having it on our webpage, but because
I work for Carers, she just does whatever she wants with me, so it probably will be if they can technically make it happen.
We're gonna, so just before you go, sorry, I know that you asked another question, just based on, because I came to the end, just to let you know, for May, in the Age series, which is the first Friday of the month, we have the RAS person coming, which is a regional assessment service.
Correct.
Who will be talking about my aged care and all these things that you were just talking at the end. So that's from 10 to 12, first Friday in the month. And we also have, following up on that contract one, through Care Financial, they've got a contract specialist that was coming out to do a talk to us, talking about, because it was raised in one of the other sessions about all these things. And they're coming out to talk about legalities and what to look forward, and they're launching a new product. So that's coming up too. So just keep your eyes out for that. That's in I think it's June or something like that. So, so we are following up, and if there's any issues, that's what Sharon just said. If there's anything, always let us know, because we have advocacy, we have other things, and there might be something I can put on for you guys to find out information. Yeah. So that's the other thing, because I'm not in your situation, so if we don't know what's challenging you or what you need assistance with, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, the
Question
sort
number
of
2.
guidelines, we haven't been long in the home care, we've had whatever the other one's called for a while.
HSP, yeah.
We've got level 2 and waiting for level 4, and we're probably going to have to do an urgent upgrade at some time in the not too distant future. But the other thing is, I've got people doing, the person who does the meals, she's very nice, in the cleaner. But if I wanted to that it's an afternoon's break or a couple of days respite or such, any guidelines for sort of negotiating with the provider? I mean, for instance, my wife, she's got advanced Parkinson's, she's got DBS, there's equipment to be recharged, and even though she's got pretty good knowledge of a lot of the aspects, technical aspects of this, obviously you'd want somebody who wouldn't freak out at this, and then of course, somebody that she's happy about interacting with, right?
So there's a couple of things. There are guidelines in the CHSP program on how it should interact with home care packages, because they are 2 different programs. So for the most part, what they're saying is, what we want people to do is use up the home care package first. So you can most definitely access CHSP services in a home care package, but they are not double funded, if you know what I mean. Like, so now I talked about the 10% contribution and stuff. So while there's funds in your home care package not allocated, and don't get me wrong, they don't have to be spent, like, we talked about planning your package for a year, like, so as long as they're allocated to services, which in your case is highly likely, it is highly unlikely you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars left over in your package, like.
Yeah, but we are
all these stuff.
putting in a lot more than we're getting out.
Correct. So what happens there is, as long as those package funds are needed for your wife's care and they're already identified with your provider, like it's only in the case of there's a lot of money still in the package, we have to charge those types of services at full cost. Apart from that circumstance, when the package is being used to its capacity, particularly when you're waiting for a higher level package, we can most definitely, we just talk to ACAT, we talk to the RAS assessors, and we get you a referral to Access Flexible Respite so that you can access those things on top of that lower level package. Now, there isn't enough funding ever in the world, like for people, we know that. So we can't bump it to a level 4 type of thing. But what we certainly can do is give you that additional respite as a carer, some short-term emergency stuff. We can definitely, for short periods, that we can, then look at and work through, particularly in this circumstance where you're on a level 2 waiting for a level 4. They really recognise that the care that you're doing is obviously, a lot more than you would be doing if you had the level 4 package now. So yes, you can access it. It's highly likely in your circumstance we would get a referral for that from My Aged Care in addition to your level 2 package. And if we can't, understand, sorry, I know you've been waiting so patiently. The carer support contracts, the CRCC that I talked about, the Commonwealth Respite and Care Link Centre, not linked to anything else. Like, so as long as it's not already funded for that exact service, then we don't need my aged care referrals or anything for that. We would just give you that carer support and then we can work out the best way forward after. So there's more than one way we can do that for you. Like,
When you're receiving care under the DVA, veterans care,
yes,
on a gold card, and you're offered the package, and if you accept the package, does that automatically cancel out all DVA entitlements?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but what they won't do is duplicate the funding. And it can be quite complicated, so it would be really good to find out individually for you how that would work with your individual circumstance. But a lot of people, a bit like CHST with DVA, what people will do is not take the home care package because it's costing them less to have the 3 days a week from DVA or what have you. But obviously, when you're looking at sustainable futures and into that, like I say, it's really case by case you've got to look at. I mean, if you take up a package where you're getting care each day, it's highly likely DVA will pull out. There's a few things they won't do, like they won't cover cottage care, they won't do a few things, so it's definitely worth checking out. Now, understand that doesn't affect your other entitlements on a gold card, like your, access to other allied health services and things like that. So you would still be able to access, all the health needs stuff and medical needs stuff and all of that stuff. But they would not kind of do the 3 days on top of the home care package at this stage, is my understanding. It's still making sure individually that there's not
That's
some
the
other
problem, isn't it? How to find out.
Well, essentially it is, yeah. I mean, I don't sugarcoat it, as you probably found out, it's pretty tough. Like, if you accept like a level 2 upwards package or any package, it's my understanding they would not do those timely 3 day a week visits because your package should cover that. So they try not to duplicate funding.
But it doesn't totally eliminate the DVA.
No. So you would still get, so especially things that aren't covered by the package, they would still assist you with, yes. And they still do, your medical appointments, your medical staff, your hospital, your optometrists, podiatrists, whatever. Like, they won't want to duplicate things that are being charged to the package, but it certainly doesn't cancel your access to anything else like that. Gold card is, that's your access. Like, but for most, when you're interacting 2 different funding sources, they just like, you would have heard the term double dipping. They just like to make sure that 2 services aren't funding the same service. So, and my grandmother, in my own circumstance, she had a level 2 and later level 4 home care package, but still maintained her gold card. So she didn't have the DVA workers coming daily. She had a package workers coming daily, and I know at that time, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed since, that's when DVA, does pull out that shower and stuff, and things like that. But she could still access it, and that was only a couple of years ago. She could still access everything else off her gold card. So you certainly don't lose those entitlements, only the ones that you get, that would be the same service.
I've just got a question regarding registering carers, the carer people we care for, and details. How do we do that? Can we get the forms at the office?
Yeah, absolutely. There's usually some on the front desk. And if there's not, if you just ask Cindy at the desk, she'd get one for you. And if you just get, if you haven't seen our new registration form, it's just got, it's a bit of a monster, but, once you get there, it's not too bad. Any questions, just ask us. Like, the first 2 or 3 pages are your carer details. So if we've already got that, just skip it. Just put the basics on the top. And then, the back 2 or 3. So it clearly says carer details and then
we can
care recipient details. Absolutely. Please do.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Can I guess, we are looking for a provider at the moment.
Yes.
We don't know any provider. So what we try to do, is it possible to get some
listed providers.
Not listed you can get, but for those, have very bad, remarks on them, like, very poor service, and then you high every talk and high exit fee of those things.
I wish I could do that. I actually don't know these really hard, so I will check with them. Thank you so much. And to be brutally honest, like I say, I work with and know of pretty much every service provider in town. And I could easily, you know, for every service provider, we would get feedback that was positive for the ones that we get complaints about. You know, there'll be ones that if you hear a complaint, and it's usually things like that, like the way they schedule workers and things like that. Yeah, so for all the providers, yeah, you get good and bad. But what you do is see what resonates with you. You know, and trust me when I say in Canberra we are so lucky. Pretty much every provider in town, you know, I could give you 1,000,001 you know, good news stories about people who are really happy with them, despite the times that there's been difficulty and some sort of complaint. Most of the stuff that you would really need to worry about, they publicise, you know, or they put people out of business when it's really that bad. But, you know, different providers may have different focuses or different services on board, and that's what you really focus on. Like when you get on my share or you get the list or you're looking through their pamphlets, you know, like start talking to providers that like resonate with you in terms of, you know, they specialise in this or they've got that service or they have this or that or whatever. So basically, so you're starting talking to providers who look like they have the types of things. I mean, a lot are very similar, but the way that they advertise, the way that they market, you know, and you go, oh yeah, actually, you know, this one seems to have a focus on this terminology and this one on this, and that one's more how we think about, you know, that type of thing. So trying to actually, and sometimes we do run expos where we get a whole heap of providers together. So if we're ever doing another one, then keep an eye out for it. It's not on the table at the moment, but we probably will. We try to do one a year if we can, where we invite every provider in town we can think of to come for like a morning. They set up a table and then people can come and talk to them all and just see what they offer. So yeah, I'm sorry, we don't recommend or not recommend, but you know, you'll find that stuff on the web. You'll find people's comments and recommendations and what people say once you start looking into those things. But I do recommend that people start with the services that resonate best with what you think you would like to look at. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very welcome, guys. Thank you so much for staying. It's bigger than Ben-Hur, isn't it? This is like we all need a cup of tea and we just chill out and we take our time with it because you're worth it. If it took 6 months to get care that you were more happy with, if it took 12 months, it would be worth it. Sure worth it. Like,
I just want to say a big, I'm sorry.
that's okay. Oh, please do. Oh, darling.